what's up, people, twisted people, Marvel fans, perhaps people? It's your girl, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR, and I am joined here today by my Marvel Comics, DC Comics, sometimes loving brother, Damon Droc Robinson, also of the Fried Disciples.
Fried Disciples, blazing through.
Yes. And if you were here with us before, what has it been? A few months now, like maybe 2 to 3 months, maybe. I think it did in February. If you were here with us a few months ago, we did WandaVision together. Damon and my partner Michael actually did Falcon and Winter Soldier over on Fried Disciples thing, but now we're back with the Loki, y'all. This is low key. And I just want to first off thank you all in the live chat who are joining us. This is a new time and day with this one, and of course all of you in the replay who are joining us as well. And so, what we do here is that each week we do a deep dive into the episode and a full breakdown of the episode, kind of talking about overall what happened and what it means. Spoiler talk, so that means there's spoilers in this. Also, questions, theories, comic book things and things like that. And so, we're getting into it here. We're digging deep. And of course, this is my jam. Falcon and Winter Soldier were a little bit more real world for me. So, I wasn't doing that one, but y'all know this is my jam. This is supernatural, maybe a little bit of some horror stuff going on there. And so we are doing Loki. And thank you, Cage, for joining us in the chat. We missed y'all too. We missed you too. And so it is, it's always great to be back with all of you. And, talking the things that we love, which is storytelling, cool stories. We always love them. So what we want to do in this hour or so that we're going to be talking about this episode is somewhat our overall thoughts, the grade that we'd give this episode, and then what happened, and then some theories, because this is the first episode. It already opened up a can of worms when it came to what it could be connected to. Is it connected to anything? Yeah. And most likely, just like WandaVision, we will have a lot of theories and such. Although I don't think Mephisto is the big bad. I'm going to put that out there right now. I'm going to cut Damon off at the knees on that one.
Mephisto is not in this one. And you finally did this. All type of multiverse talk you was talking, just the right show.
Yeah, okay. So yes, because in WandaVision I was talking a lot of multiverse thing, and now I'm actually being vindicated or validated that there is multiverse things going on. Yes, Ray, what's up? WandaVision team back at it, and now we're a Loki team. So where's Mama? Our mom, she already passed by before the show started. You missed her, Ray. But she'll be back next week on Charmed. For those of you who watch Charmed, our mama will be back on that one. So first and foremost, I want to ask you all in the chat, thank you for joining us, and those in the replay, what was your grade for this episode of Loki? Because I think there was a lot of hype around this here in LA. We saw a whole bunch of things, and it was like, whoa, this might be big, especially because of his kind of character. So I want to pose that to y'all when, as we talk about it. So I'm going to start with you, Damon. What was your overall grade for this episode, and overall thoughts, brief overall thoughts?
I liked it. Once again, they're starting off slow as usual, but the slow stuff always seem to liven up, get better. So I'm expecting this to be another hit. It started off very interesting. Could be going a lot of different ways towards a lot of different things. I got my suggestions of where it's going.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like it. I give it an A.
You give it an A. Okay. I'm going to give it an A. I'm going to give it an A too. I think they actually accomplished a lot in this episode. I feel like, my overall thoughts with the opening was that I don't know about y'all, but I got like, Beetlejuice, in Beetlejuice, for those who have watched the movie, when they go to the afterlife, how everything is kind of like a waiting room. It's very corporate and things like that. I very much, I very much got that vibe, right? I very much got that vibe from the TVA, and I loved it. Michael, my partner, he was actually talking about how he got Rick and Morty vibes. For those who watch Rick and Morty, that there's a whole thing when there's a sentinel of Ricks. That episode was kind of similar to that. Just kind of this very weird. It's kind of weird. It's kind of quirky vibe, and I dug that because I think it overall set the tone from jump of what we're getting into with this kind of show, because it's not Earth-based, because we just had Falcon and Winter Soldier, which was very Earth-based, right, y'all? And so this one, it's like it's off-world. And so it can be hard sometimes to transport the viewer into something like that and not have it being very jarring. And I think what they accomplished in this first episode was like, wow, they did that pretty smoothly. And having us and building that universe with the little video, and we'll talk about that in a second, because we got our Tara Strong voice up in there. I love her as a voice actress. With that, and it was really well done, and the quickness that they came with Loki, of getting him from his 2012 Loki to the Loki sort of that we ended up knowing before his, to me, untimely demise against Thanos. So I liked everything. They accomplished a lot, and it was quite entertaining. So I would give this an A as well. And y'all in the chat seem to be loving it as well. And let us know in the replay as well. Before we get to, I want to get to some of y'all grades. KG is asking if we're looking forward to The Sandman on Netflix as an aside. Yes, I am. I'm excited for what it is, and I've seen the behind the scenes, so I'm excited about that as well. Ray is like, Ray, you already putting stuff in the side. You gonna get us started on this, Ray? The Mephisto rumors are back, and people really think that's the real big bad in this series. Again?
No.
Y'all gonna get Damon talking about that whole episode.
I was going to with WandaVision. I don't know. I don't know. It's some things that's pointing to that's saying he not in this one.
Yeah. And shout out to the Poltergeist. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. And Tony Movie, thanks for joining us in the live chat as well. Prim is agreeing it was a great first episode, and we agree, Prim. So far, I think both Damon and I give it an A. Now, Ray is saying an A minus. Okay, so A minus, but character is an A plus. It's Loki, and his arc is amazing. You never really know what side, how he is going to move in the moment. I like that. He's the god of mischief, right? The god of chaos. And I think this is kind of a perfect, Damon, what do you think? I think this is kind of a perfect thing of him having to deal directly with the TVA, the god of mischief and chaos, right? Who is supposed to be all over the place. Nothing could be, and just kind of changing stuff.
That want to keep things in
line.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a perfect kind of combo and arc. It's like, whoa.
I felt bad for Loki in this one.
Yeah.
I kind of felt bad for him.
I felt bad for all of us. This episode had me questioning our reality. I'm like, well, if it was real, but it's like, so was all this for nothing? Is everything already predestined? What does that mean for this world? It kind of, I don't know. I feel like the TVA is one of those things that the authority might need to get challenged, if you know what I mean, because of the idea that everything is.
Just look what you can tell. You automatically get the feel from the authority that it's like it's like a G-men type feel, like that. They seem like they're oppressors.
Exactly. It's a thin line.
Feel from them already.
Yeah, it's a thin line. It's a thin line, right? Because it's like, we keep order. But then there's this whole thing of like, well, who gets to decide what's the right timeline? Yes. Who gets to decide that this is the way it's supposed to go? Right? Who gets that? And Loki actually brings that up, and we'll talk about that as well. And KG is saying, I think it was very good. I'd say an A to A minus. Tony Movie is actually agreeing with Michael, who also, hey, Michael, also a Fried Disciples, y'all, joining us in the chat. He's saying this felt so much like a Rick and Morty without Morty episode. Tony Movie is agreeing, saying, I agree with Michael. I definitely got some Rick and Morty. The Poltergeists are saying A plus. All of you seem to really be agreeing with the A plus. So I think we're off to a good start, right? Michael is saying Damon blazing through his Mephisto theories. Great to see you, Fried Disciple. And Oh, well,
no
Ray is letting
Mephisto.
us know
No
that
Mephisto in this.
no Mephisto.
No.
Ray is actually letting us know some of the Rick and Morty writers are on this show.
Nightmare, maybe.
Nightmare. Okay, yeah, that was actually
I'll leave
mentioned.
that right there, and I'll leave that right there.
Yeah. Pato, I got my kitty, our kitty here, y'all. She decided she wanted to sit on my notes. Sorry about that. She's like, working. What are you doing? Working.
Oh, they say some of the Rick and Morty writers on the show.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Ray points out that some of the Rick and Morty writers are on this show. And I love that because I think Rick and Morty is such a witty, fun cartoon series. I actually need to catch up on a lot of the episodes. But if they are on this show, that already lets us know even more so. I mean, I think that's a perfect match for a character like Loki to have that. Yeah. Thank you, Ray. Yes, I went a little bit light and dark with this one with my hair. I appreciate it. All right. So overall, Damon, you and I are on the same page about the grade. We both are having an A. And so there's been some theories and whatnot. And okay, so let's jump into what actually happened this episode. Oh, before we get to that, y'all, I want to ask y'all a question in the chat. Think about this. You don't have to answer it right now, but think about this this question. Do you think this season of Loki is going to be self-contained, somewhat similar to the Falcon and Winter Soldier in the sense of nothing like huge of like global of global dominance? Or do you think Loki may be connecting into the multiverse of madness, that we are a direct connection into the multiverse of madness when it comes to what we are getting with the upcoming Doctor Strange and Wanda, yeah.
And Ant-Man and Wasp too.
Yeah, Ant-Man and Wasp, because Kang, which we'll talk about Kang in a little bit, it's supposed to be in there. So do y'all think, let us know in the chat and in the replay, do you think, maybe you got the inside scoop, do you think this is going to be connected to all of that? Do you think we're going to get a direct connection to those upcoming things? Or is this going to be a little bit more self-contained like the Falcon and Winter Soldier was? Already the poltergeists are telling us Loki is definitely connecting to the multiverse. So that's cool.
And Loki, who say he won't be in the next Thor movie.
I don't know. We haven't seen any things of Tom Hiddleston actually like filming there. So, and they just wrapped, I think. So I don't think he's there. Tony Moon saying, isn't one of the writers of Rick and Morty writing a script for Ant-Man and the Wasp? So there you have, that might be a very much connection if they're all connecting to each other. So good stuff. Okay. So let's jump into what actually happened this episode. And y'all, if you haven't given this video a thumbs up or a like yet, please do so. It helps it, go to other people, and other people can engage with us and join the conversation, because I love hearing what you all have to say. All right. So, basically some of the main thing that happened this episode was Loki and us, the world, being introduced to the TVA. This was very much who is the TVA? What is the TVA? Focused episode. And like we were talking about, that's what it had to be, because, well, we couldn't just jump in and suddenly, we had never heard of the TVA before, right? This is like so brand new to all of us, except in the comics, which we'll talk about in a second. But in terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is new to us. We have never heard of it. And Loki even asked, I feel like, and what do you think? I felt like they kind of had it so Loki was asking the questions that we as the viewers would ask. Because Loki was like, well, if I'm this god, why have I never heard of you? And I think that's something we would have asked too, right? We would have been like, why haven't we ever heard of the TVA before?
Yeah, I mean, these Marvel guys are great. They setting up a lot of good things to go on with out there with people who are beyond beings that we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
So I guess to start that off, they're introducing the time variant authority. To start that off.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, because we are getting a bigger kind of galactical type thing. I mean, for those of you who have been paying attention to it, we got the Eternals trailer out, and that very much shows, I mean, they're gonna have to do some explaining with the Eternals of like how they existed for all that long and never joined in the fight against Thanos or anything like that.
We want to get some of the Celestials in that Eternals movie too, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things going on where Marvel was going to have to explain so many things that they hadn't brought in before, the Eternals included. And now, as Damon is, is referencing, that this may be a way to do that, right?
Yeah.
With having these bigger beings than we ever heard of before, bigger than the gods of Asgard and everything, letting us know these beings exist, even if they kind of stayed out of our business here on Earth. With Thanos and stuff, because I do think that's going to be an immediate question. It's like, why didn't they help against Thanos? But then it's also pointed out, that was all supposed to happen. I think that's a little bit of an easiest answer to give. Little cop out, but also like, listen, that was supposed to happen.
Like you weren't supposed to know.
We weren't supposed to. Mobius says that. Luke Wilson playing Mobius says, to Loki's question, you weren't supposed to know about us then because everything happened the way it was supposed to. And it was like, okay, that's an easy enough answer.
I hope they do follow the comic book thing with the how they got Luke Wilson and the other TVA agents.
Yeah.
That'd be very good. It'd be good.
Exactly. I think that'll be very interesting. Tony Movie answering our question about whether it's connected. Tony Movie is saying, I personally don't think it's going to be connected directly. KJ is saying, I didn't see the Mephisto link. To me, when I saw that scene, my first thought was Loki. Mephisto doesn't have horns. And we'll talk about that. The thing in the church.
Mephisto.
Well, that other people online are seeing the Mephisto connection.
No. That's going to be it's going to be Loki. It might not be what we know, though.
Yeah. Prim is saying this is connecting to the movie Doctor Strange. Ray is saying, I think this is connected to the larger multiverse with the TVA and the work to nullify the variants. They are doing what the Supreme does on a multi-level stage, can one dimension at a time, like Doc. And Ray actually said something very funny. The externals are getting some hate on sleeping on Thanos. LOL, talk about CP time. Yes. Y'all, they was a little late. They were a little late, weren't they? Tony Movie is saying, but I can definitely see the connection for Doctor Strange into the multiverse of madness. And KJ is saying, I'm sure just like WandaVision, this will connect to Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness. It's just helpful to build the multiverse. I think that's the key here. We're getting introduced to the thing of the multiverse. So what we have this episode is that we get Loki. We get a little bit extra added scenes of Loki in 2012. Oh my gosh, 2012. When I saw that number, I'm like, has it been that long since that movie came out? Yes, 2012, and how, that Loki because that scene where Loki grabs that actually happened in Infinity Wars, right?
Mm-hmm. I believe that was that Endgame when they went back and tried to get it. That was
wasn't Endgame the third and last one of that trilogy.
But when they went back in time to try to get the stones over.
Oh, you're right. Okay, you're right.
That one, so they had to go straight to his father. Tony had to go to his father.
Yeah. Okay, so this actually happened. That's right. I think this actually happened in Endgame. That Loki became a variant. So that's the Loki that is not the Loki that we knew when we first met Thanos, which was basically, who's killed by Thanos, right? So this Loki is the Loki from. It already gets confusing when you're talking about, because this Loki is the Loki from the first Avengers can you see how far we've come with villains? Because Loki was actually our main villain in one of the Avengers movies. Isn't that so funny? Yeah. Right? In the first Avengers movie, Loki was our main villain. And now we have a main show about him. How the tables have turned, right, y'all? So that was the Loki that we have, that Loki. And so what we have is that he's the variant, and so he's captured basically by our one of our hunters, played by our girl from Lovecraft Country. She's up in there. And we'll talk about some theories around who she actually may be from the comics a little bit in a little bit. And so he's caught and he's brought to the TVA. And so what we get is like a whole kind of, in this first half of the episode, what we get is like a kind of an overview of what TVA is. It's kind of weird. Loki's like, what is going on? They have words of everything he's ever spoken, which was so funny. So they they clearly tapped into this, and they're so above it all, right? They're almost, I don't want to say they're kind of mechanical, but they're so above it all that there's kind of no emotions to the things going on Earth and stuff.
I figured it'd been more paper. I mean, Loki brought a mischief since the Vikings, right? Yeah,
right.
A long time.
You would think there'd be a crap ton more paper.
Yeah, he should have had a whole room full of people.
Yeah. So we got kind of like this whole idea, and then we get a video of voiced by Tara Strong, who also, I thought this was funny. It was voiced by Tara Strong, who also is the iconic voice of Harley Quinn. So they got a DC person up in here, but she's played so many other characters voice-wise. So they get Tara Strong. She's the one voicing this very, I think, Jurassic World-esque, because you remember that video from Jurassic World, the cartoon when the thing is explaining stuff? I very much felt like it was like that. Yeah, the DNA. I felt like it was that kind of vibe with it, which I appreciated. And so
Miss Minutes, that's her name.
Miss Minutes, played by Tara Strong. And so we get this overview of what everything was before we had our timeline. So it would seem right now, let me see if I'm right, Damon. So it would seem right now that we have one timeline, that there is only one timeline. Is that what they're trying to say?
What is it? One supreme timeline.
One supreme timeline, that at one time there were warring timelines and a war broke out. And then these three great beings, the timekeepers, basically decided that they didn't want that and chose, basically, they did the choosing, because I guess they were all so powerful, chose what the timeline would be. And since then, because to keep order, they've made it so that if anyone strays from, sorry, if anyone strays from that, the variance, the TVA, which is the facility that was put up, basically comes and deals with them. Now, how they deal with them is the other question, because that's where I think it gets a little questionable. Because when Loki was first captured, they said, was it reset? Is that the word they used? Retcon. And they put something down, and something tells me,
that's the, I know.
Something tells me that the people that Loki first came in contact with in the desert and in some of the other instances, that it wasn't good. Some tells me they were killed. Some tells me that's what retcon does. That it basically is like when people start.
That's my bad. See, retcon was from the comic book. They had a canon, and it shortened. It was a retro something canon that reversed, that sent time, that started the time back to where the variant left. You know where.
Yeah, but this little thing they do, does that kill the people around them?
It starts the timeline. It restarts it.
Are you sure though? Because it was very funny to me that Loki turned back and he wasn't allowed to see what happened to those people when they put the thing down.
Yeah, no, it rewinds the timeline back.
Okay.
It doesn't kill kill the people that's dead.
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah, that's how they ensure the people that sees them, that like the little girl, she's not gonna remember them.
Yeah. Well, they did say wait outside. Okay, yeah, so maybe it's not. I'm a little questioning of them because it just seems a little weird that they're so quick to do that, especially some of the hunters. They're just like, just retcon it, whatever.
What would that thing do? And what that stick thing do? Is different things.
Yeah, what the stick. We also see that the TVA hunters have sticks that basically dissolve people.
They're like the guns of the old TVA from the comic books.
Yeah,
they had, back then. This is like 69. They had guns.
Yeah,
so they were shooting and they
so they did the baton type thing, which honestly seems a lot more sinister. That you can, it's long enough it can hit somebody and whatnot. Go down, girl. I'm working. Hey, Rob, thanks for joining us in the chat. Great to see you here. And I agree, Tony Movie. Tara Strong is a fantastic voice actor. Also, that's what Tony KJ is saying. Ray is saying, I hope the Time Twisters have in the mix like how Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. from the inside and became a Hydra legit organization. I mean, there's so many things to talk about with TVA. What did you think of TVA, Damon? You kind of hinted at it a little bit, but what we got from TVA is that they are the keepers of the time. And even if you're a little late for work or anything like that, they are the ones who are charged to keep you on the time. And it seems as though from what we got is that everything's already pre-planned. It's already been decided where everything goes. They not only can tell you your past, but they can tell you your present and your future, because it looks like time is different in the TVA. I don't know how fast or slow time is in the TVA, but it's definitely different. So they seem to be able to see things far ahead or wherever.
Where they're at, it's supposed, they call it like the null zone. It's time doesn't really affect right there where the AVN is located. With I keep calling it the AVN. where the TVA is located at.
Yeah,
it's like a null time zone. That's why you able to have different people from different time streams all right there at that one place.
But what did you think? And let us know in the chat and also on the replay. What did you think? I felt like the TVA is such a prime case of all the things that can go wrong when some force or being decides that they are the authority of how everything should go.
I mean, really, see, they're not. I don't know if they're going by the original origin of who the timekeepers are. They could be, and we just don't know it yet. So they didn't show it yet. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody. You know, but, it's actually authority that's higher than them,
which is the 3 timekeepers. That's what we're presented. I know, but we're not talking about spoilers or anything from the comic books. What we have so far, or at least let's go by what they told us. Let's go by what Miss Minutes told us, is that the higher beings, the timekeepers, basically charge the TVA with keeping the timeline that they have decided is what is.
They police the timeline.
Yeah. So basically, Loki is taken into court with the time thing and everything like that. And he's found guilty. He tries to use his powers. We see that magic of no kind or whatever works there. So not the Tesseract, not Loki's powers, none of that, which was a little funny to watch when Loki's like, just wait. Like what, and the Hunter is kind of like he's trying to use his powers, like he couldn't use it or anything like that. And so he's found guilty by Ravonna Renslayer, who we'll talk about in a little bit, who is a justice. She's the one who helps. And Loki even asked her, he's like, well, what do you do exactly? Because she's like, I carry out what the timekeepers.
Well, basically, she do the same thing they do.
But in their stead. Basically. And he's like, okay. Yeah, because, he's like, let's talk God to God. Let's talk to the other gods. Let me talk to the other gods. And she's like, no, I do that for them. And so she's a pretty powerful person, it seems. And so he's found guilty. And he's about to get taken away. And it seems as though, from what Mobius, who we'll talk about in a second, was saying, is that he was going to get killed because he was a variant. So it seems like they kill variants, which is a little different, I feel like, from what the Miss Minutes video showed. I feel like the Miss Minutes video showed them getting put back where they were supposed to be.
From that time, from that date.
Yeah. But it seemed like with Loki that they were like, basically, like Mobius said that they were like, we're going to kill him.
I guess that person who knows this is happening, he won't know it no more. So I guess that part of him will be dead. He will no longer exist.
And that gets into a whole other set of questions that that opened up like a can of worms on WandaVision.
It wipes you from existence.
Okay, but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That version. But it's like, doesn't that version now that exists of Loki, isn't he his own person from the other Loki of another timeline? And I think that, we had a whole discussion for those of you who joined us during WandaVision, much appreciated, where we talked about the soul and we talked about what it means to exist and how can there be more than one, or can there be more than one? And I feel like eventually we may run up into this question with Loki as well, of how one is able to exist, although maybe it's still just one because the original Loki is dead. So this Loki is still the only one.
They justify the killing or the wiping of existence of them because if they allowed this to stand that alternate thing, it messes up every timeline.
No,
No,
because
that's what she said. That's what Miss Minutes explained.
yes, but see
And that's why they got that red line at the top of the thing. It shows how far the
no,
timeline is.
I agree with you.
Once it hits that red line, it goes critical.
I agree with you, but wasn't there a whole thing during Infinity Endgame, right? Avengers Endgame, where it was a whole thing of them saying that there wasn't a such thing as like a butterflies effect or whatever when they time travel, that it wasn't the same as you see on television because there's a whole different set of rules for Marvel when it comes to time travel because Captain America was allowed to go back, right? And Loki even brings this up, right? And this is what's so funny. Loki brings it up and he's like, I'm not the one who's the problem here. The problem are the Avengers who were traveling back in time, you know.
I guess to try to stop me from taking over.
Yeah, that's what because he didn't know.
Because he didn't know the other stuff happened.
But he's also saying, how are they allowed to travel back in time? They messed up stuff too. There was a timeline things occurred. Yes. They said that was planned, yet somehow Loki becoming a variant isn't.
It wasn't. Like that's what they saying. Him going on his mission, whatever he wanted to do, wasn't in the cards. He was supposed to get killed by Thanos.
And it was only ever supposed to be one of him.
Yeah.
Based off of what they decide.
Based off of what the timekeepers say.
Isn't that weird though? And I think this goes into what we're going to end up questioning. It's like, can they do that? How is it allowed that they can go back and switch off everyone being wiped off half of the planet, but not do the same when Loki decides that he is a variant now and maybe wants to live his life because his main self got killed. So why doesn't he get another chance?
Knowing that, like, if you know about how the timekeepers was in the thing, that's not the only thing. They do a lot of sketchy things.
In the comics.
They do a lot of sketchy things. So that's what I mean by I'm hoping it stays on that course of how
questioning them.
And how it all goes. I hope it stays, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Ray is saying in the chat, let us know what you all think of in the chat and in the replay. Do you think this is setting up a stage of questioning their authority of TVA and who they are allowed to be and the role they're allowed to play and kind of keeping things the way they see it fit, the way it's supposed to happen?
That might be how what's the name could come about, though. He could be one of them that don't agree with the things they do.
Who's what's the name? What are you talking about?
About Kane. If that Kang, is him as one of them on that wall.
Kang, who we'll talk about in a second. Ray is saying, I love how Loki as a magic user is being showcased and how Marvel has said that they are going to revisit Loki's magic. I agree. KJ is saying, my guess is the TVA are kind of like the prophets from DS9. They don't view time as linear, but rather planier. Just a random thought. Okay, what's DS9? Let us know, KJ. What's the reference to DS9? Where is that from? Is that in Marvel or is that something else? Ray is saying Phase 4 of Marvel is going to be all about the magic side of the Marvel universe. And Loki's mom was a powerful witch goddess. And Loki's mom was a powerful witch goddess herself. Ray is also saying Loki magic ability is on a level he is a being in the running for Sorcerer Supreme in the comics like Doom. So, you know, Loki can be pretty powerful, right?
Yeah.
And so that's also something we're contending with. And I feel like with some of these characters, with each show that we've seen thus far, there's been kind of this leveling up of what they're capable of, right? We saw that with Wanda. We somewhat saw that with Falcon and Winter Soldier in the sense of them coming emotionally into a higher space. And we may be seeing that with Loki. So then we get Mobius coming in. And Mobius is also dealing with his own issue of there seems to be a diddly variant, because he calls our Loki a pussycat when it comes to this variant that he's trying to chase, who's going around killing hunters, basically, seemingly just killing hunters, drawing them in and then killing them. And so we get this cool thing with Mobius, played by Luke Wilson. And I love that dynamic between them already. I already feel like they're a good duo for me so far, because I just think it's really funny. I feel like Mobius is really good at getting who Loki is already, probably because he's had time to study him, because time runs the way it is. And I like that. I feel like this whole sequence that we got in this episode was a way for for Loki to kind of get to who he was once we saw him in Infinity and stuff, right? I feel like that's where we needed to get him, because I don't think we could deal with a whole. I was a little worried that we get a whole season of him having to get to that point, which would have been kind of repetitive, because we as the viewers already saw him do all that in the movies. So I was like, how are they going to get him to not just be straight up villain guy the whole time, And I feel like this was a great sequence of events to get him there by looking at his life, seeing his stepmother, or who he had known as his mother, the last words he said to her, and then knowing that, his choice to try to, get the invaders to lead to Thor caused her death, and then seeing his father pass on, and then seeing him and Thor get together, and then seeing his death. So he kind of got a crash course of where he was heading, and he kind of had an opening. Do you think that was too quick? Or do you like the fact that they kind of dealt with that in the first episode? And let us know in the chat in the replay. What do you think, Damon?
They had to do that. That's the Loki that people love now. The Loki that we already seen transition into the somewhat good guy. Still mischievous. He still took the Tesseract, and when what's his name was torturing Thor, and Thor was like, we don't have it, and he still took it. He like, you're the worst brother ever. Like he's still mischievous, but he got a good side to him.
Yeah, and we saw that's where he got to eventually.
That's the Loki that they said, oh, we can make him a show and it can run. It can actually work. It was that Loki that made them believe in that. So they had to get there. They had to get there quick. So we already seen him progress. I didn't want to watch a show with him progressing again.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you. I didn't want to watch a whole season of him getting to where we already got him, where his death in the original timeline impacted all of us, because we were like, no, we like Loki.
That's why I felt bad, dude. We had to watch that.
Yes, and it was so tense, and it was like, no.
He got knocked down so many pegs in this episode. He got knocked down so many. I felt for him.
Yeah, and that's where we got the thing, because he actually says it. He says glorious purpose, because it's like he's like this is where I was heading.
That's my life. He need to be like, that's my life.
Like, this is how it ends. like Thanos straight up chokes me out and I die. Yeah, whoa. And I mean, talk about a come to Jesus moment of, okay, so that's where all this was going. Like, all this was leading to that. Great. Tony Movie is actually pointing out that we may be getting multiple seasons of Loki. I'd be down for that. I'd be down for multiple seasons of Loki. I would have been down for movies focusing on Loki, but I get that there's a whole bunch of those right now. So I'm fine with an episodic kind of thing.
That's the thing, though. Loki can lead. It's movies. We already know 3 that's coming up that they can actually use a second season to lead him to go lead into another one of the movies. So we already know this is going to lead us to the multiverse, and maybe even some Quantum Mania. You give him a second season, that leads right in no, but you said he won't film it for that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't hear that he was on set for Thor: Love and Thunder. KJ actually points out the DS9 that I was asking about was Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Okay, they have no concept of past and future. They saw all of time and didn't understand the concept of linear time. Which is it's interesting. The whole thing of time travel is such a talked about subject in so many things, where there are plenty of pop culture and mainstream things that do put time not linear, but somewhat of a all things happening at once kind of, and it just gets so confusing. And it's just like, what could it be? Is it linear?
That's the funny thing, because actually with this story with the timekeepers,
they made it kind of linear.
It's people, it's a group of people that are just like them prophets.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't know where they're gonna go with this. What origin if they're gonna invent one like they take the liberty of doing, or are they gonna actually use it? And give them some. That's what I think somebody mentioned it earlier when they said they hope the Time Twisters come into it and infiltrate it like Hydra did SHIELD.
Yeah.
The Time Twisters is another group, a group that came before the Timekeepers. The Timekeepers are actually
the second version.
The fix. You can say they're the fix of what the Time Twisters were.
And we're talking about the comic books for those who might not be familiar, who are coming to this from, the MCU perspective. Those were the ones before the time, before the TVA that who were causing havoc and stuff. And then they were wiped out. And I think there was the one that was left of them that was allowed.
No, the one
who remains. He who remains.
But he's not a timekeeper or a time twister.
Yeah. And I don't know if he's going to be in this somehow. He might. I don't know. Who knows? He's also someone from the comics.
Well, he deals directly with the TVA, honestly.
Yeah. Ray points out, Loki and his mom touches my heart. Loki's mother has had such an impact on him, and she gifted him and taught his large-scale magic. She MVP and never gave up on him. Very true. And we actually see the ramifications of that, even with Thor, of losing his mom and stuff like that. And I really do. It really just shows the groundwork of over 10-something odd years of what was built with the first couple of phases, which... who knows if we're going to get that kind of level with phase 4, if it may take longer because we're getting so many newer people. And I think it is going to take people time to connect with people like the Eternals, because you have these kind of larger than life beings that they're introducing us to. Mm-hmm. And that may be a little harder, I think, for audiences to connect with, as opposed to the singular forces like Loki and Thor, brothers who are from, places we already kind of know in history, but versus the Eternals and stuff like that. I do worry about the connection, the lack of connection. With some of
look, they know. I think they know what they're doing. This is just off of this alone. This to introduce them with Loki, when in the comic books they was introduced with Thor.
Yeah, they originally for a little comic book history, y'all. The TVA is definitely from the comic books. They're not just, pulled out of nowhere. And they actually appeared in Thor in 1986. So we do know that they have a history within this, realm.
Look, when you think about this MCU, Thor don't need that. You know what I mean? He's so strong on his own. So you say someone like Loki, you know what I mean? You run this storyline. You can't say he ain't involved. If Thor did, Loki's somewhere around.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I mean? I'm like, yo, once again, my Marvel is doing.
Oh my God. Okay, sir. Anyway, don't get ahead of yourself. Tony Movie, thank you. I love Jaws. Is one of my favorite movies. And Tony is actually pointing out, I wonder, did anyone catch the Peggy Carter cameo? I didn't see it. Where was she?
No, I was going to mention that when you said Captain America went back in time. They didn't do. People are saying that was Peggy when he first blips out the room, Loki, and he's in the hallway, and then you see I guess a hunter or whatever bringing a woman through that. I paused it, tried to see. I couldn't tell if it was her or not, but she resembles Peggy Carter, definitely.
Why would Peggy?
I don't know why they would take Peggy that the one who did the time variance. If you think about it, it wasn't Peggy unless Cap saved her from dying or something. I don't know. But if you think about it, it was Cap that was the time variant did.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't notice. Peggy Carter's okay to me. I wasn't looking for her. I probably wouldn't pick her out from a lineup. You got to see, you got to watch stuff. No. There was when we were watching it last night, we actually saw Stan Lee on the wall. I think Stan Lee was on the wall, which was
one of the pictures.
Stan Lee. Oh, we miss him. Ray points out, I don't understand Power Scale, how you mix all these characters. How do you throw an Eternal in the same level as a Hawkeye? I just don't see how to do this without power retcon, which I hate. Yeah, that's something. Yeah, that's something that will. And I think that's the problem they may have to deal with in phase 4. You have Captain Marvel, but you have the Eternals. How do they all? I mean, now they did exist in the comics, right? So it's possible. But it's like the comics are a different kind of animal, right? So how do you make this work in a movie linear kind of way without it looking kind of weird that, like others are saying, where they're hating on the Eternals? Why didn't they come in to help out with Thanos? What is going on?
It was always understood that some beings looked at other beings as lower beings. It's it's like I'm dealing with bigger issues than what they're dealing with, especially if they know they can handle it. If they work together, do this, whatever, they can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it always went on. That's why you it had to be something big that was going to happen where you might see the one of them big head guys from the comics to come in, and it's like it got to be something that actually probably leads to like the universe going, something happening. Somebody that's that powerful, another powerful being like them. Not Thanos. I'm talking about higher than that, like on a Wanderer level, a Beyonder level.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, something like that. Then you might see a couple of them. They out there.
But that's what I mean when I say about the issue that we may be facing with the connection, because a lot of people, they tend to connect with heroes that they think help, protect the earth in the immediate sense. So I don't know if I'm talking about viewers. I mean, I can get around it sort of, but even I can find it a little hard to really. I tried to read the Eternals book, and in the comics, and I was like, I just don't feel the connection with these people because they're just so above everything and kind of on the outskirts. And I'm just like, so can I root for them? They're not even trying to be there for me. I guess that's what I was thinking as a viewer. So we'll see. I mean, that was just an aside because I'm thinking about Loki and how they're opening it up.
You got to take it as if they're like the Olympic gods who look down and say we're not gonna do anything to help, and it's actually super beings down there. So you're like the super beings deal with the super beings.
Yeah. Michael is saying we pointed that out. Stan Lee was definitely on the walls in the wall. Ray is saying, why didn't the TVA go as the Avengers for messaging with the timeline and ruining world calmness, according to the Flag Smashers? Exactly. No, we were talking about that a little earlier, right, Ray? I was like, Loki brought it up. He was like, shouldn't you be going after the Avengers?
No, they're saying that's what the timekeepers wanted to happen.
Yeah, well, not that. Well, that's not how Ravonna said it. She basically said that was supposed to happen. She was like, that was supposed to happen.
But the timekeepers run everything, so evidently that was how they wanted it to happen.
Yeah. Michael Damian is saying Eternals sound like Marvel's ancient astronaut theory. I mean, honestly, their origin story is very much that they were created along with another species and then the humans by this other species, and they were there to help humans go along, which is very ancient astronaut theorist type stuff.
The Eternals, you said they was created by the Celestials, right?
The Celestials, yes.
I mean, this is the thing though. We've heard of this in the MCU. That head that's floating through space, the head, that's the head of a Celestial. Yeah. So it's just now coming out so we can start to understand why that head is floating around out there. You know what I mean? That's a planet actually. People live on that thing.
Yeah, there's a lot they can explore. I think the question is how intergalactic are viewers willing to get before they don't feel as much of a connection with the character? Like, who's going to be the next standout? I feel like that's the thing. The question is, I feel like Loki, Wanda is probably going to be a big part of that. We don't have Black Panther at this moment, but they are putting supporting characters from Black Panther to really step it up. So that may be a thing. I don't think anyone from the Eternals is going to be a standout. I just think it's going to be hard for people to feel connection to any of those characters.
I mean, I don't know. See, I don't know. In the comics, out of them, Black Knight is the man. So you hoping that he could have the same crossover appeal to the
Moon Knight, you mean?
Live action that he was in the but the leader of a group is always the man. He always like the favorite one. So hopefully he can have that same appeal to live action that he had on in the comic books. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But so most of that stuff space anyway. I mean, out there in other worlds, and that's gonna be Star-Lord domain. They're gonna be able to bring it in.
Star-Lord is comedy. He's comedy relief though.
But this is what I'm saying. They don't need these new people to bring in that area of the thing. They already got people in place out there. You got Carol Danvers. You got people that's already out there in the galaxy that where most of you see these higher beings at.
I guess what I'm saying is I hope that Loki plays a big part in this as well, because we're getting the space and time, but we're also getting a lot of the magic. And maybe this is what they're doing. They're setting up 2 camps, because I think as they get really, for lack of a better word, spacey with it, some of us may feel a disconnect with that. Some might be like, okay, space, is it Star Wars? What are we doing here? We're doing a whole bunch of,
Black
and then... Yeah, and then you're going to have people who are going to be like, I want the magic. I want what's going on Earth. And I think that's where Wanda comes in. I think that's where Loki can be a great bridge, and Doctor Strange. So I feel like people might end up in 2 camps of the Marvel kind of thing you're into.
They're going to take it. I think they're going to go towards the horror aspect of it too.
Multiverse of Madness is supposed to be.
Said, what is it, a nightmare? And what did he say?
That's a different department.
But I'll help you destroy that.
Yeah. And there is a character named Nightmare,
exactly.
Who is usually someone's arch nemesis and stuff. Yeah, Doctor Strange, arch nemesis. So we saw a little Easter eggs here. So I want to talk about the other thing that happened here was we got to know Mobius, who was played by Luke Wilson, and Mobius is actually in the comics as well. For those of you who are watching, I just put up a thing of Mobius, the way he looks in the comics. And funny enough, in the comics, what's so funny, in TVA, Mobius is actually every worker. That's the joke. In the TVA and the comics, except for the Hunters, I guess,
he's Mobius, Mr. Orobus, Mr. Paradox, and Mr. Tesseract.
Yeah, there's like multiples of him.
4 of them, yeah. And hold up, and he's also the clone. I want to. Don't
spoil anything.
I ain't gonna say.
But what I was just giving a little tidbit that there's multiples of him that usually work in the TVA and the comic books. And in this one, it's iconic Luke Wilson, who's already doing a great job. Him and
they should do that. That'd be so.
It would be funny.
That'd be real funny.
Yeah.
Walking down the hallway saying hi to each other.
hi to each other and things like that. Yeah, I agree, Damon. So I think it's very funny. I'm glad to see that he is in the comics and that he has had interactions with the other characters before. And now Luke Wilson is playing that kind of character. So he was definitely in it, and he's in the comics. And I really liked him in this. I think it's a kind of a slow burn as he opens up. He seems a little over the bureaucracy of things a little bit, because he's like, yeah, this is going on. He's telling the Hunter, don't kill that kid, because the Hunter was ready to and he's like, hold on, and things like that. But he seems like a capable agent. He doesn't seem to really be questioning what the TVA does necessarily, but maybe that would be the give and take that Loki and him have, where he was really kind of handing it to Loki. It was kind of like, listen, like, you think you're supposed to be the person of mischief. What makes you hurt people? What's going on? So he's very good. Oh, thank you, Kat. I don't know why. Luke is his brother. It's Owen Wilson.
Owen. That was my bad. I told you his name was Luke.
Yeah, I asked you. This Damon's fault, Kat.
That's my fault.
And thanks for joining us in the chat, Kat. Because I was like, what's his name? I know it's Wilson. I just didn't know it was Owen or Luke. So Owen, and he's he's doing a great job thus far. And I do wonder, I think there's a lot of space for him maybe to question TVA on some level, because we don't know how long he's been doing it. And there might be on some level him being a little tired of it too. What do you think, Damon?
I mean, who knows how they're gonna do him in this cinematic version of him. I mean, from the comic version, I really don't see him going against the TVA, but I mean, he does seem like he's thinking on another way. He's not so brash and ready to go out there and retcon somebody immediately.
Yeah.
So he's been there for a while. Of course, he took. I wasn't asking how long you've been here. He's like, time work differently here. So
yeah,
he seems like he's the alternative solution to what they normally do.
Yeah, seems like he might have a heart to it. It's like code of like, oh, this is just the way the TVA wants this. And him and Ravonna seem to have a little dynamic too, because when he goes up to the podium, he's like, "You above me. This works. This seems appropriate." I don't know what that was in reference to, because I know Marvel usually does the flirting thing. But it'll be interesting to see what their connection is too, because we have to talk about Ravonna as well, because that's also who we got in this one. And Ravonna, I'm just trying to find a thing to put her up, is someone who is also in the comics. And Juju Mbatha, am I saying that right? I want to get her name right. But we've seen her in multiple things. She's gorgeous, and I like whenever she's on screen because she's she's great to look at, and she's a great actress actually. Yes, Damon agrees. And so she is playing Ravonna.
B-15, nice to look at too.
What was that?
I said Hunter B-15.
Oh yeah, she's great to look at too. She was one. We'll talk about her in a second as well. Juju is playing Ravonna, and Ravonna is also in the comics as well. And Ravonna in the comics is something of a princess, isn't she?
She's a princess. She's a princess of they got like a world. It's not in our timeline. It's in a different like for those who don't know the period of time that our MCU was in is Earth 616.
Yes.
She's from
here in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is actually 19999.
999.
Yeah, it's like 4 9s. They changed it for here.
Yeah. But, she's from a different
she's from Earth 6311.
Yeah, different Earth. And near Kang conquer mostly that whole universe except their planet. And that's only because he falls in love with Ravonna. But she's the princess. She doesn't like him, you know, and that's where the Avengers come into it at. But I doubt if they go down that road in this one. Right now, she was a hunter. She moved up to being a justice.
Do you think they've taken away that aspect of her, or do you think that's more like maybe we'll get more of a backstory?
Hopefully we will. Hopefully we will get more of a backstory, because the little things they do, like it make you. I don't know that they could just be playing with us, because like you notice the one timekeeper that looks like Kang is like right above where she's sitting at.
Exactly.
You know,
because that's another thing that people were talking about, because it looks like, and we got to talk about Kang if we're talking about Ravonna. Yeah. Kang the Conqueror. Is someone who has been cast, another alumni from Lovecraft Country, has been cast.
Sometimes they be playing with us. They gonna throw I can't say her name. Is it Wanu?
Wanu, I think. Yeah.
Wanu? Yeah, they throw her in here and then have his picture all over the place where sculptures look like him. Mm-hmm. That nose is definite.
Right, it's very definitive. You can see it, and I don't think that's a mistake. I agree with you. I don't think it's a mistake that they had him look very much like the actor who has been recently cast as Khan, looking like the main timekeepers. Kat is also pointing out in the courtroom when she said, "What's happening?" when Loki was trying to use his powers. Yeah, that was very funny. She's very good in this role. I mean, it was brief, and I hope we get more. But
I think we will. I think we will. I mean, why sometimes I'll be in certain characters they introduce, you be like, okay, they got to show more of this person.
Yeah.
Like they it's like they went, it seemed like they went out of their way to make her with the TVA. I mean, yeah, with the TVA.
It's very interesting because you know I feel like maybe they wanted a way to bring her in, right?
I think they really want a way to bring him in also.
Kang.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with that. How is the question, because he is supposed to be, Kang is supposed to be Kang the Conqueror, y'all. Let's actually talk about Kang the Conqueror, because some of y'all might not know who is Kang the Conqueror. So Kang the Conqueror is also from the comic books as well, and he's set to be, I believe, the villain in the upcoming Ant-Man and Wasp, which is kind of interesting that they have Kang, such a huge one, for Ant-Man and Wasp. I don't know, is that a little bit of a waste of a villain, or maybe that's just his intro?
Don't nobody like Ant-Man and Wasp?
I didn't say nobody liked it, but I do think a lot of people think of them as kind of small potatoes.
Yeah, see, no, because this is the thing they do. They pick and choose who they want to be. Because Ant-Man, Henry Pym in the comics, he was always a standalone dude. He was always he was a top Avenger too. He was the leader sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But in the MCU,
they pick and choose who they want to boost up the stars. You know, we're gonna make Iron Man a real big character. I love him though. Don't get it messed up.
Iron Man of all people, right? No one saw that coming.
Don't get it messed up. I love him though, you know?
People are like, Iron Man, really? He's the leader. He's the main guy. He's questionable, especially in the comics. But yeah, so Kang, who is connected to Ravonna, Kang the Conqueror, is from the Marvel comics, and basically Kang, actually in the comics, his original name was Nathaniel Richards, and he was a 31st century I think scholar and things like that. I'm reading some of the stuff.
Smart guy.
All around smart guy from the 31st century. So somewhat, and there's the question of whether or not he descended from Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. And we do know, y'all, that we're getting a Fantastic Four movie. So all of this may connect.
All is connect.
Right. It definitely can connect.
Even from Scarlet Witch, that you had the Fantastic Four thing had to connect. When you start talking about Nexus beings, they got to connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got the
next year is the Nexus being.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not around yet at all because the Fantastic Four ain't around yet in this MCU, but.
They definitely seem to have a plan, right? Because what we're getting is these characters that are very much connected to each other, because Ravonna is being introduced for a reason. Now, yeah, maybe she's not being introduced as a princess from another timetable, but then again, maybe she could be. Maybe she decided to join the TVA and become a hunter. You know, because of some mess that maybe went down with Kang, who knows? And Kang was Nathaniel Richards, and he basically traveled all around. He ended up in Egypt and became Pharaoh Rama-Tut, and basically took over Egypt and everything like that. And then there's a whole connection with the X-Men there, because he's connected to Apocalypse as well.
But when he was Ramen Tut in the comic, he's in Ramen Tut. Reed Richards comes along and messes all that up for him. And that's the big thing with not liking the Fantastic Four.
He's defeated by a time-displaced Fantastic Four. So then Richards goes to the 20th century, well, now it would be 21st, right? Where he meets Dr. Doom, and who he believes might be his ancestor, and whatnot. So they have a whole thing. And in the midst of this, he falls in love when he conquers another area, but not Ravonna's area. He falls in love. In some iterations, she falls in love back. In other iterations, she doesn't like him, but he's trying to win her over.
It's times where she dies. He turns good for his army turns against him, because he has an actual army. It's a guy. I forget this guy's name. It's a guy. He's like one of his underlings, but he wants to finish the job. When he tells him he wants, so he joins the I don't think it was the X-Men. I believe it was the Avengers. He joins them, and they fight, and he help him, and they defeat his army. Somehow something happens to her. She gets killed. Some other guy tells him, if you do the things for me, I can give you the power to bring her back to life. Mm-hmm. But that never happens.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of ways they can go about this. And I think the question is, how are they going to choose to go about it?
He does come back, because it's a lot of things with her too. She's not the nicest person either. She's like between villain sometimes, good others. She's just like him. They're a perfect match, if you really want to say.
In the comic books.
Yeah.
But it depends on if they're going to try to make her.
I don't think they are.
Sympathetic.
I think they're gonna keep her as being good. Look, just like they did with US Agent, and how they already turned them good, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In one season, he went through the whole plot of him being bad to now he's the US Agent that might join the West Coast Avengers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I believe they'll do that with her, that they're gonna keep her on that good road.
Yeah, and Juju actually, I was just looking up an interview that I wanted to share where they talk about it, where they say, this is from comicbook.com, Avenger Endgames put Loki on the Time Variance Authority with Juju Mbatha Garaz, Judge Renslayer. She's called Judge Renslayer so far. Ready to decide his fate. We know Judge Renslayer named to be Ravonna Renslayer, a character who has with a complicated history through timelines, and one which has deep connection to Jonathan Majors, who's playing Kang, Jonathan from Lovecraft Country, the Conqueror villain. And Juju actually said in an interview, well, luckily for me, the way that Kat Herron, our director, pitched it to me is that as we see Renslayer in the TVA and in Loki, this is a somewhat of an origin story to what we know of in the comics. So it sort of predates what's in the comics, which is kind of fun because obviously there's so many places that it can go. So she's kind of playing it that this is before she even, like, maybe this is before she meets Kang and stuff, right? Which is interesting.
But you know, they might not know who exactly the timekeepers are. They just know they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when the guy said, when Loki said, "I'm gonna gut you like a fish"? He said, "What's a fish?"
Yes.
He like his whole life he's been. So we don't know. They probably won't. We don't know these some of these people. Maybe they don't know. That, you know, they grew up and just knowing it's timekeepers. They run things. All I do is watch monitors or do whatever they do there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he said, I lived my whole life behind a desk, and it's kind of like. So are they born just to do this job? Like, how does that work, right?
Yeah,
is it like they're just cogs in the machine?
Get hired to be a TVA agent?
Yeah, how do you get hired? Are you birthed and you just kind of, are they born as children or do they grow up? Like, how does this work, right? And I think there's still, even though we were introduced to the TVA, there's still so much that we could find out. Tony Movie is saying, I'm very pumped to see Kang the Conqueror and Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Jonathan Majors seems like the perfect casting. He does. It'll be very interesting to see how they go about this character. For sure. I definitely agree with y'all on that. But there's so many things with Ravonna that can go. And even, honestly, I would say Gugu's interview kind of throws me off a little bit because I'm like, how does it predate it? How does the TVA predate? Or did she mean like what happened in the comics predates TVA? That's the question.
That makes more sense.
That makes more sense that she was once a princess and she ended up working for the TVA. I would go with that more than she somehow leaves the TVA, becomes a princess, and then Kang shows up. Because if he's supposed to show up in another movie, how would that work, right?
Yeah.
I would believe that a little bit more. What do y'all think? Do y'all think we're going to be seeing Ravonna a lot more? And is she going to be playing a bigger part in some of the upcoming movies and stuff? So we'll see with that. So, overall, we got a few things. And then we find out when Loki decides that he is going to help. You know, he was like, y'all need my help. And then he's like, yeah, we definitely.
No, look, one of the funniest moments, though, Loki, DB Cooper.
Oh, yes, that's what we had to talk. I almost forgot. I actually wrote this down in my notes.
Yeah.
I don't.
What? I said, what?
Yeah, I actually wrote this down in my notes. DB Cooper, and even Mobius was like, "Really, you were DB Cooper?" Right. And at first, I was like, "Who is that?" And then I read up on it. I was like, "Yes, I heard about this story." DB Cooper was a guy on a plane who basically took he took like $29,000 or something, right?
He
or $200,000.
Yeah, was on the plane. Told him he had a bomb, whatever. Then he when they flew after they landed, flew back off. He jumped off the plane. They never found his body. All they found was like a little bit of money somewhere. I think it's about in the Colorado River.
Yeah, in the forest. The forest. So a lot of people and they never heard from him again.
Never heard from him again. A lot of people think he just was like was living like a hermit or something up in there.
Yeah,
but that was funny. And then he said he lost a bet with Thor. And then it took me back to remember how Thor was before the first Thor.
Right? And how he was could be kind of a jerk. Like, oh, you got to go do this. They were brothers, right? Yeah. So we saw this really cool thing where he said I lost the bet and he had to be DB Cooper, and he's like, where were you guys when I was messing with the humans then? You know, and I kind of messed with their timeline, and I was DB Cooper, the famous plane hijacker. And they, once again, it was like, well, that was supposed to happen. We let that happen.
He lost the bet to Thor. Thor is you know, they look out for Thor.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure. I don't know if this is actual Marvel Studios that's up in here, but if you are, hello, welcome, I think. I'm sure it is. I don't know, maybe. Although Sony Pictures seems to be arguing with you as well. So not sure. Seems to be a little problem going on here. But y'all bringing the drama.
Studio violence up in here.
No studio violence, guys. We appreciate y'all making an appearance. We love you both. I'm looking forward to the Morbius movie, Sony. So, and the Venom. We looking forward to it. And Marvel, we liking what you're doing. So no shade. There's love on both ends to both of you. Kat is asking who DB Cooper is. He actually is a historic figure, Kat. He's the famous.
He robbed the bank. I don't know what he robbed, but he robbed something. I
thought that was the only thing he did.
That's all he did. He did that, and they never, he got
the
away.
Bank,
He jumped out of the plane and basically disappeared.
Yeah,
and that's the legend of DB Cooper. You could Google him though; it'll pop up.
It's really interesting because it's to see that they use that, and I just thought that was so funny and cool. I was like, all right, I'm down for this because they are, Loki is a god, right? He's an historical figure. He exactly, and he existed before Marvel Comics, right? This is this is Norse mythology or whatever that, especially with Thor. So it's cool that there's kind of a play on all of that. So we appreciate it. So let's see. So that was a very funny moment. And then we get to the part of Loki kind of having his come to Jesus moment. And then basically Mobius lets it known. He's like, we need your help.
He wanted I felt like he wanted Loki to admit to being what he is, but that's what he always was. That Loki, he was a villain.
Yeah, but he wanted him to admit that so he could get to the point of, will you help us? Like, I want to be able to have you help us without you running off somewhere, right? I want you to actually want to do good, right? I think that's the question. He
wanted him to become, like you said, he gave him a crash course in becoming the guy that I know you're going to become, because I've already seen how
so it's in you. It's in you. I agree with that. And so he's like, okay, who is it? And then he was like, it's you. And I was like, and everyone was like, I know. I was like, Mike was like, what? Like, it's you? Like, who is it? Because we had that whole scene. And I think someone also, I didn't get to highlight it in the chat, asked if the little boy in the church from I think it was 1594 or 1592.
1590,
1590 was a Loki variant or something like that. I don't think that was a Loki variant. I think that was just a little boy was there. Yeah. And when Mobius was there asking the little boy, who did this? Who killed our hunters? Because there was some type of an anomaly. The boy looked towards the stained glass and it had the devil on there. Now, some people, as we have been talking about in the beginning, the Mephisto connection, people are like, that means that it was Mephisto. Oh my gosh, it's the literal devil of Mephisto. Now, the director has actually come out dispelling that. Now, we could take this for a grain of salt, or we could say it's truthful.
It's true. I know. I believe it's true. I think I know who it is.
Well, actually, the director said it's actually just supposed to be another form of Loki because of the horns. So that's your answer, y'all. That stained glass did not mean that it was.
Oh yeah, no, not off the stained glass. Did you know when the guy comes through the portal and gives him the thing of Loki, the case file, I guess. Yeah. And when he reading it, so you know they always got Easter eggs. Certain things come on, I pause the screen and try to read stuff. Right?
Yeah, what was it?
So it's all seemed normal till it get to sex, and it says fluid.
Oh, yeah, and this is what the chat was also. And let's talk about this also.
That makes me think about the Lady Loki.
Yes, and we do know that we know there's been a Lady Loki cast. We know the actress and everything like that. Like she's cast already. There's a lady Loki. So we knew that in a way. If you looked at the behind the scenes stuff, the question is, if he's saying, you will probably find this out in episode 2 that it's the lady version. And like you said, you paused it, and any, during their homework as a Marvel fan like yourself, Damon, would do, you saw that it said fluid. And this is the thing. Loki is a fluid god, right? He's actually fluid, I think, also in the comics as well. And
any being.
Yeah, where he could be any kind of being.
Yeah, well, he got actually food. I guess they saying he could go down into the details of where he.
Yes.
The way he could actually be a woman and have
have children and things like that. So I think this is interesting, and people have been talking about this online when it comes to representation and stuff. Some people were very happy about this kind of reveal, like finally acknowledging Loki's fluidity in his gender and stuff. When it comes, and that makes sense. It's June, it's Pride Month, all right. Other people felt like it was a little bit of a cop-out because they felt like it wasn't really addressed. It was just kind of thrown in without really being given the representation, as in like, the Loki that this was.
But her really, that in the comics, that Lady Loki, he had his spirit is in her, but her body wasn't for him. Her body was for Sif to come back, the lady Sif to come back into, and Loki hijacked that body. So
say that again, Damon.
I said her body was actually was for Lady Sif to be reborn into, and Loki hijacked that body
in the comics.
Yeah, and his soul is in her. That's why it's Lady Loki. It's him inside the female body.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't.
That's interesting.
It wasn't him actually becoming
as a woman.
Yeah, no.
I feel like it's kind of I was about to say Doctor Strange. No, I meant the British Doctor. That's a big thing. I don't know why I cannot think of this name. This very popular series about doctors, about a doctor, a Time Lord doctor.
Doctor Who?
Doctor Who, yes. And how Doctor Who can come back as anybody that they want to be. And throughout the years, they've been a woman, they've been a man, and things like that. That kind of gave me Doctor Who vibes.
He have been black?
Yes. It's been a black woman before. I think the next one is supposed to be a black woman, actually. The Doctor Who. Yeah. So they've been playing with that, and it's interesting that I'm just, it's kind of cool that, Marvel is maybe catching up to that a little bit and displaying that.
I mean, look, Marvel, they doing a lot of, how many gender mix-ups twists we had? We had the Flag Smasher.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Sharon Carter too, because what's her name was a male in the comics, the Power Broker.
Well, that's gender bending, right? For the show. But I'm talking about him actually being a fluid character, kind of like non-binary kind of thing.
All right. I get you.
When it comes to representation. So that's what people were talking about. It seems appropriate for Pride Month, maybe. But you can't please everyone. Some people weren't okay with it. They were just kind of like, it seems like kind of a throwaway. And I think it's going to depend on how, like you said, they kind of explain how he got there, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be a thing where she hijacked the body, or is it going to be that Ray points out that's gender swapping, Damon? Like that's it's not the same thing. Don't get us canceled, Damon.
I'm just saying that they made
I know, but it's different, right? So
I get it. I didn't understand it then. I thought it was the same thing. Yeah, I have explained it. Like, I got it.
He understands now, y'all. Don't worry. So I think that'll be interesting to see where they go. I think it's going to. I think the dependency on the representation or whatever is going to depend on how they describe how Lady Loki came to be. My idea is that it was just a different timeline where, or maybe it can't be another universe it can't be a parallel universe, but maybe another timeline where Loki was born a woman. But you're saying that it could be a thing where the Loki just, hijacked a body. I don't know.
I mean that's I'm just going off the comic of it, version of it.
Yeah. Ray is pointing. Go ahead, Damon. Finish.
No, I was gonna say, but she wasn't a time variant in that. So
yeah, and now this one she is a time variant,
yeah.
and the question is
Yeah,
what
exactly.
time? I mean, was there another time on our main Earth that Loki somehow did something different, or is this some other world?
I would love for them to
happened?
do something with Iceman. I would love it.
Yeah, Ray is pointing out. I mean, Marvel can do better. I mean, we have other characters like Deadpool and Iceman that are fluid in the comics.
We can't get an Iceman because they ain't come out. This MCU ain't invent mutants yet.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the big question when we're ever going to get an X-Men ever. I'm campaigning for Anna Diop of the Titans, who plays Starfire, to also play Storm. Putting it out there in the universe. I think she'd make a wonderful Storm if Titans eventually finishes by that time. So I mean, was there anything else I was missing from this episode that happened? I just kind of wanted to touch on the big stuff. Because, Loki does ask, is this the greatest power in the universe when it comes to TVA? Because they also had a whole bunch of Infinity Stones that they used as paperweights. I don't know about y'all. I felt disrespected. I was like, I done lost these characters. He felt disrespected, but me as a viewer, I felt disrespected because I was like, we lost some of our fave characters, and y'all sitting here using this stuff as paperweights. Y'all could have helped them out. They didn't have to go back. We would have got everybody.
That's the thing. I don't think they even know about that. That guy didn't know what a fish was. Nobody didn't know. They don't know. Them things don't work where they're at. So they don't know they don't know the relevancy of them.
Yeah. You're right.
We got a bunch of these all around.
They got all that. Because he even asked what the Tesseract. He's like, what is this? And when Loki said Tesseract, he's like, that sounds like a dumb name.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, they really don't at all involve themselves in the affairs.
How does that sound like a dumb name when there's a guy there named Mr. Tesseract?
Is there a guy named Mr.
Yeah, that's another clone. That's another
Well, he hasn't been introduced yet, so we don't know.
I don't think they're gonna. I think because they said that, I don't think they're gonna introduce any of them.
Yeah, KJ is saying, like I said earlier, when I saw the horns on the stained glass, KJ is referring to, I knew it was Loki. Mephisto doesn't have horns. No. Also, as far as Doctor Who goes, if they went a black Doctor Who, I want either Richard Ayoade or Idris Elba. Oh my gosh, I'd love Idris Elba as Doctor Who. That would be amazing.
You want to be Bond?
He do. Or he's willing to take it. He's better than a Bond thing too, though. Ray is saying, are they allowed to collect both DC and Marvel checks? Not at once, but once they're finished, they could probably do it. Once they're finished, right? Because Chris Evans came over, and I know it's all Marvel, but at the time, I don't think Fantastic Four was owned by Disney and Marvel. And he had played the Human Torch under Sony before, right? Also, and then he went over and became our Captain America. So it's possible. It just depends on what the contracts say.
Also, Chauncey, there's no spy better than James Bond.
All right.
So him doing James Bond is a big thing. He better take it.
I'm not saying James Bond is like lower tier. I just think the franchise. I think it just may be better than what the franchise has become. They've made Bond very emo, and I'm just kind of tired of him always having midlife crises, which has been happening with Daniel Craig's Bond for the last 3 movies. And I'm just like, okay.
I mean, they do that now and then.
Yeah, whatever. They've been doing it for 3 movies.
No, for real. The other guy had a life crisis too.
But 3 movies straight. 3 movies straight of midlife crisis. I'm good. So that's kind of the gist of what happened with Loki. So now we know that there's a variant, a more diddly variant than I'm going to call him our Loki. And there's a diddlier variant that is another Loki. Now, whether that's Lady Loki, I think we can kind of surmise that it is, but we know that there's another Loki. So that seems to be, but we don't know if that's actually going to be the big bad. So that's my question to you all. Do you think this other Loki is going to be the big bad of this season? Or do you think this is kind of the start and then we'll get into Kang, probably a very, very long shot of Mephisto, but do you think there's going to be a different big bad? Or do you think... Let us know in the chat and in the replay, y'all. But Damon, what do you think as we close it out?
You could write that Mephisto off. Not in this.
Look,
He's not gonna be in there. Nah, man, you could cancel that. I have jumped off that bandwagon a lot of miles ago. That's not happening right there. Going off how they do it, I don't think so. I believe if she's the villain, she's going to be the villain, just how Agnes was the villain. I don't believe it's this is what they do. They did it in the Winter Soldier thing too. It want no other big bad. Unless you want to really consider Sharon as being a big bad.
It was more like a reveal of a big bad with her. That was for future stuff.
I believe it's gonna go on the same way. She's gonna be the villain. To bring her in, Lady Loki. That's good. Maybe she could come to that timeline because evidently he can't go back to that timeline because he's dead in it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's gonna be another big bad jumping out at us. But we'll see.
Yeah, Kat Harlem actually makes a good point. Kat is like, you're setting yourself up for a WandaVision letdown. You're talking about people in situations that haven't happened. Marvel has consistently shown us they're not following the comics. Now, I agree and I don't agree a little bit, Kat, on that. I do think that they are following the comics in some way, but in a remixed way. And maybe not so much with the TV shows, but I do think they are laying some groundwork for some of the things. Now, we may not get a Mephisto, but maybe with all of us talking about Mephisto, they may tack them on, not in the immediate, but maybe in phase 5. I don't know. We don't know, but
another bad. They got a bunch of bads out there they could pull up. There's a bunch of real bad characters to pull up.
Yeah, and Ray with the Charmed reference of the Perfecti, who are currently the big bad on our Charmed series that we do each week from the CW. The Perfecti are also beings that put beings of chaos in a tomb when they get too out of hand, according to the Perfecti. Although I would argue TVA or these bigger beings are kind of doing the Perfecti thing a little bit with it. So
if you step out of timeline, they put you back in.
Right. Yeah. Womp womp. He'll be here all day.
Michael's killing him.
Michael's the stand-up comedian here, Damon, of Fried Disciples. Speaking of Fried Disciples, as we close it out, y'all, let us know in the chat and also in the replay, more so in the replay, what your thoughts are. Do you think we're going to get a big bad, or do you think this will be most of a season of our Loki chasing his other version of himself? Do you think that's going to be what we may get? KJ is already throwing the thoughts in the ring and saying, my thought is the other Loki is being manipulated by someone, but not a super big bad, just something to prop up the movies. Exactly. Maybe Kang. Maybe it's Kang. Oh my gosh. I feel like Kang is going to become the Mephisto of this. It's Kang. He's going to reveal himself. But I don't think, I will say, I do not think we're going to get a Kang reveal in this season because of the fact he's supposed to be in the actual movie.
Because he's going to be in there. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Think about it. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, but we also had a big thing about Mephisto, and we ended up just getting Agnes the whole time. So I don't, who knows? I feel like a lot of this is. I say
who knows, because of the fact that we was hearing about Nexus and all that in WandaVision, and it didn't really mean anything till now.
That's true.
When they talk about Nexus events and Nexus beings, but we seen a commercial in WandaVision.
Yeah.
We went through a whole nother show.
Nexus, we got no other reference of Nexus until this show, even though it was introduced in WandaVision. And we know Wanda is a Nexus being that she, like, no matter what happens in the timeline, she kind of stays consistent.
She's consistent, and she like certain stuff happens when other people go on other timelines,
but not for her
that way. Yeah.
And so this is our second time getting a Nexus reference. So I do think that's going to play a big part, but we may not see the part it plays until Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange, which Wanda is supposed to be in.
They also referenced already in this Loki thing. Nexus, they ain't say multiverse of madness. They just said madness first. Madness, multiverse.
And honestly, you put it together like it was multiverse of madness.
A lot of little hints they kicking in. I think it's gonna be. It could they could show us stuff now that could be related to Ant-Man and after the other movies come out.
And that's what KJ is pointing out, saying no reveal, just hints. Ray is saying we don't need to do Agatha dirty. She wins all the awards. Yeah, she was great. Agatha was great, but considering that we all thought it was gonna be Mephisto, or Damon thought it was gonna be, and I thought that I was gonna get my parallel universe somewhere in there revealed, although it was sort of revealed at the end, I will say. All right, y'all. So that's kind of our thoughts. So that's kind of our thoughts on this. Thank you so much for joining us for this first episode breakdown, because we got into it. It's always a pleasure. Let us know in the replay. What are your thoughts? What are some of your hopes? What do you hope to see this season? Is there anyone you're hoping makes an appearance? Are you kind of keeping your expectations low because you had a lot of, like some of us, you had some grandiose theories for WandaVision and they didn't kind of come into fruition. So you're kind of just going along for the ride. Let us know, comment down below. And also be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and like this video if you haven't already, because you liking this video and engaging with it really does help it get spread to other people.
Maybe next time we could talk with, because we didn't get on what we thought Wan Wu's character. Is I'm saying her name right? Is it Wan Nu, right?
I think it's Wan Nu. Yeah. Oh yeah, 100. We have to. Well, we will talk about her. I feel like we need to talk about her maybe in the second episode to see what more of a role she plays, because she was there and she was basically Loki's main main nemesis this episode, not believing that he should be
main adversary.
So we'll see where that leads, because they seem to be, having her. And I don't feel like she's the kind of actress you just bring in to just be there. I feel like she's kind of becoming a staple, and I feel like she has some importance. So let's give her own segment next episode, see where she plays. But hey, CP from Show Business, and hey guys, I haven't watched yet, just coming by to deliver some love. Thank you for the love, always appreciate it. And also, y'all, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And also, if you also are someone who likes herbs of a special kind and whatnot, and so forth, and also like Cobra Kai and other things and whatnot, then be sure to subscribe and check out Fried Disciples. That is Michael Damian and my partner, my love, Michael Damian, and my brother, my other love. Together they are Fried Disciples, and they have the show. And no, not like Kanye. No, not that kind of herb. Yeah. They have a show, and basically, there's a lot of interactive stuff depending on what they talk about that you could do puff pass or whatever. The things that the boys do.
All different things we get into.
And it's just started. They're gaining traction, and the next show that they will be doing is Cobra Kai, as leading up to the 4th season. If you all want to check that out.
We call high karate.
High karate, yes.
Emphasis on the high.
Yes. Okay, y'all. So please do join us next week. We're hoping to, God willing, please be safe out there, and also be safe. Let us know your theories, and we'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your week and great weekend, y'all.
Excelsior.
Excelsior.